What do you have as far as a draft concept? And you just draft the same thing, whether that's team fight or that's split push, right? And you master one thing, no matter what the enemy picks, until you have that down, and then you can pick up other styles. There's so much good to take from that last game for Drift. And if they're able to find a, like you said, a cohesive draft and one that they can just, have a set game plan on, I think they come out potentially on top of that game instead of behind just barely. We'll have to wait and see as the draft has started up with, pretty standard bans from what we saw last time. We'll see if the draft is cohesive from Drift. My other concern is their mentality, because a game like that, a 40-minute game, and to lose like that in that last fight, that one hits a little hard.
Yeah, that can be a little tough to shake off, especially since we're just running right into it. Right away, the draft bans are the same. Picks are already completely different, leading me to believe that it's going to be completely different setups from either teams. Divine Ascension opting into the carry Graves jungler, but I don't think that's the most interesting part of their draft so far. They actually banned Samira blue side, which they could have first picked it.
Absolutely right, but it doesn't seem like maybe they're comfortable on Samira and they don't want to give it up. So I understand it. That's more of a comfort ban, as I don't want to play against Samira. I play ranked. It's not fun, but they're gonna pick up the Graves, that's the one I have a little bit of questions about, because neither of Divine Ascension's junglers, Bubble Bath Boy or Terath, it is Bubble Bath Boy again, really played that much Graves. They play a lot of tank and supportive junglers. Bubble Bath Boy known for his Zac, his Sejuani. We saw it last game. These are his comfort picks. So the Graves is a little bit unorthodox from what we've seen, but there still seems to be a game plan in mind for them. They've drafted the Taric and the Ashe, a strong bot lane. Taric, again, great in team fights. Ashe offers you that solid engage. And Graves is, despite, Graves never really fits in a box as far as what he is as a jungler, but he's a solid team fight jungler. He can really shred frontliners with a bunch of armor. So we'll wait and see how that plays out. On the other side of things, Drift, they've picked up 2 semi-global to global ultimates. So we'll see if the Shen goes top this time or if it's back in the jungle.
Yeah, and I am curious if it is going to be that team fight style draft or if they're going to be kind of leaning back towards the pick. They do get the Caitlyn portion of the handshake, which I do love. I do think Caitlyn, even with her nerfs, is still probably the strongest AD carry. And there could be some bias there because I've always thought she's been pretty strong ever since they buffed her headshot to work on turrets. That always seemed a little silly to me. I know they technically have heads, but it is made out of stone. So I think there's some lore leeway coming in there.
It's never made sense. All right, like Jax empowered auto doesn't work on turrets. Fiora empowered auto does. Who knows anymore?
But I mean, yeah, I think Caitlyn's still top tier. I think she's at worst top 3, at best still top 1. And into the Ashe, I always struggle with that handshake because when we get into the late game, I'm going to touch on Orgat in a second because that is just wild. But when we get into the late game, it means that Caitlyn will have the range advantage, the damage advantage, and the survivability advantage thanks to 90 caliber net. So I think if you get the Caitlyn in the handshake, I think you're doing pretty good.
Definitely in a solid spot if you get the Caitlyn in the handshake, especially if it's a Pantheon support, which we're most likely expecting it is. The Urgot is exciting because this is an adaptation I want to see, and I'm hoping so hard, Doctor, that it is an Urgot jungle. I really want it to be an Urgot jungle because it got buffed, and it could be an Urgot jungle. If it is, I will be so excited, and I will be completely ecstatic on the desk. But on the other side of the draft, it is Malphite Galio as the last 2 lock-ins. So we are going to be looking at, a draft where it's a wombo combo team fight again from Divine Ascension, right? They have the Ashe engaged, they have the Malphite engaged, they have the Galio engaged to follow it up on the Malphite, and then they have the Taric to keep them all alive while they're all diving into your face. So it is definitely a team fight oriented composition. On the other side of things, Drift Esports is yes and no, right? They have some split push potential with Urgot. They have siege potential with Caitlyn. Sylas able to steal some of these powerful ultimates, especially Taric, Malphite, etc. And they have some global pressure with Pantheon Shen. So they can make team fights happen and they can make them work undoubtedly. but it's not as set onto one-dimensional composition as Divine Ascensions is.
Yeah, this draft is definitely kind of throwing me for a loop. On both sides, in all honesty. Divine Ascension has a very easy draft to execute, and that's always been my complaint about Taric drafts, is that people pick these very elaborate Taric drafts that almost require you to play the Taric perfect, right? Like you play like these really squishy champions and you rely on the Taric ultimate to keep yourself alive. They didn't do that this time. They're just like, Taric's awesome. We're gonna pick Taric. He's cool and neat, and it's cool. But then they just pick like the most straightforward solo laners where you're just like, they're just gonna press R and we win the game. So it's super simple, super easy to execute. I love these types of drafts in these types of scenarios. Whereas then we look over at Drift and their first 3 picks, again, very easy. We're going to see the Pantheon engage, the Shen ultimate, Caitlyn just autoing, super easy. Then we get Urgot and Sylas. I love the Sylas pick because of the ultimates Scarlet has. They're all amazing. Every single one of them has value, and some of them Sylas does even better than the original. The Urgot was blind. We had no idea who this Urgot was playing into, and Divine Ascension are like, Malphite, easy counter. It's gonna first item Bramble Vest, and Urgot just loses the lane at that point. And so it's just the Urgot pick is cool, but I don't see where it complements the rest of the team.
I couldn't agree more. I think, again, Drift with the last 2 picks being a little bit like wonky with what they're trying to do. Again, it can work, but it's a little bit strange. I do want to see not just adaptation in the draft, though, from Drift. I want to see a more proactive early game. Shen needs to be in this bottom side. He needs to be making plays with the Caitlyn and the Pantheon, because if he does, before Taric hits 6, before Taric is able to keep them alive, then Caitlyn can do what she needs to do in order to scale out of control. Because if Caitlyn gets plates in lane, it doesn't matter if Caitlyn gets kills. If Caitlyn goes 0-0-0 in the lane, but is able to get 3-4 plates, then Caitlyn is scaling and is going to mitigate a lot of her 1 to 2 item fall off that she has, because she's really strong before 1 to 2 items, and then she's okay at 1 to 2 items if she's ahead, but if she's even, not so much. And then she hits 3-4 items and she's insanely strong. So if she's able to get kills, plates, etc., then she can scale out of control and she can carry this game. I was impressed with how Volatile played in the last game on the Ashe. I think he looked really good on it. I just don't think he had too much opportunity to really show off into such a beefy front line for the side of Divine Ascension.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to have that same issue. I do like the Pantheon steal away because of how strong it was for Divine Ascension. I think if they had maybe an Enchanter support like a Lux or Morgana even, it would be lights out. That lane is one because Taric can't do anything into either of those, and you just explode people as the Enchanter Caitlyn combo. I think Pantheon does do some of the same things, and he is a very strong pick, but there's room to mess up here. There's room to accidentally get dazzled into Enchanted Crystal Arrowed into 8 billion damage. So I think the Caitlyn is a very strong pick. I think it has the tools. I would love to see it pop off, but I think we're going to have to figure out how some things work and how the rest of the game works. And so final thoughts. It's going to be very similar questions. Who lost the draft and how do they actually win the game?
All right. So again, I think draft was won by Divine Ascension. They got everything they wanted in draft, right? It feels like nothing was ever really denied to them. They have the same team fight, scale, engage composition that seems to be their bread and butter. So they have exactly what they want. They have dive potential, they have roam potential, they have early, mid, and late game potential, and they have objective control. So I think they got exactly what they wanted. Do they win the game? Is a different question, right? I think if they're able to make these team fights happen, if they're able to get 6, 1 item, and they're able to make their wombo combos work, then it's really hard to deny them. However, if, on the other side of things, they aren't able to get an early game going, and Drift is able to get this Caitlyn ahead, get her scaling, and Sylas is able to consistently steal either a Galio ult or a Taric ultimate, then these fights become a lot more difficult. Yes, Urgot might lose lane, but he's still going to be strong in team fights if he doesn't fall behind. So you're looking at a team fight versus team fight composition that is really predicated on how this early game goes and how Sylas plays for the drift side of things.
Yeah, the only way I've ever seen a Sylas lose in the last like 3 patches is if the enemy AD carry builds a second item, Executioner's Calling. Without that, Sylas just runs away. But with that thought in your brain, remember, it's only 800 gold. We are going to be kicking it to a short break. So once again, do not touch that dial. We will be right back with Divine Ascension Scarlet versus Drift Esports for game number 2 of the first ever week of XLNC Mid-League. We'll be right back.
Hello, Summoners. Welcome back to the Mid-League here at XLNC Esports. We are continuing on our best-of-3 series again with Divine Ascension Gaming Scarlet facing off against Drift Esports in a crazy back-and-forth 40-minute grudge match. Divine Ascension somehow managed to come out on top, winning a solid fight around the base and finally taking advantage of that Infernal Soul. We'll be looking to see if they can continue on their clean early game in this second match. Once again, my name is Mac Dewey, and all the way from the analyst desk, Valley has joined me back here in the casting booth.
Yeah, Mac, I think I took a wrong turn somewhere. Bubble Bath Boy has Ignite. Did I get lost on my way back from the analyst deck? What is
the
going
Galio
on?
with Predator as well, I think, is worth mentioning. A separate strategy from the normal Aftershock Galio. It does have merit with the additional move speed and not being able to flash taunt anymore. I wonder, though, if the more squishy build would be taken advantage of in the early game. Thracian, once again on the Shen jungle, wasn't crazy aggressive in the early game. I think could maybe look for some better flash taunts here.
We'll have to wait and see about how this early game plays out. I don't really expect Tay to get punished too heavily by Rava. You know, Kingslayer's a great ability and all, but Silas early game, not the greatest. Typically not the strongest. And Galio is, look, all you need to know about Galio, and this is from a Challenger Galio player, by the way, is push and roam. That's all we're going to see from Tay. He's just going to push the wave, and he's going to leave lane. That's the entire thing. They're probably going to look to dive top side, or if they get to 6 on that bot lane, they'll dive bottom side with that Cosmic Radiance. So I don't expect too much 1v1 action in the middle lane.
Yeah, and it's going to be a little bit of a playstyle difference here for Divine Ascension. Last match, as I mentioned before, they popped off in the early game, really, as we do see Bubble Bath Boy on the Graves, not on the Sejuani this time. We'll have to see if the solid performance in the jungler carries over to a more carry-style champion.
Hey, he took the red buff, he started verticals, and because they didn't recognize it soon enough, Bubble Bath Boy might actually be able to get down and get to a triple buff here on over Thracian. So that could be massive to really get this Graves out ahead. Graves really strong farmer in the jungle and able to clear effectively. So if he's able to get a massive experience lead over the Shen, that could be a big difference come first Drake and, you know, first initial ganks, as Bubble Bath Boy is already topside.
As you mentioned before, he does have the Ignite. Seismic Shard does land onto an Otter. The early game aggression on this Drift top lane continuous here as he's getting so low. The Ignite drifting down. The Seismic Shard going to finish him off here as it's Bubble Bath Boy trying to take on Thracian here. The Rumble from the jungle making its way to the top lane, but both junglers gonna have to walk away from this one. I think potentially just going to clear the wave. No flash available for Thracian there, as we do see a teleport from an Otter coming in here. The Urgot going to try to catch out Bubble Boy here, and Otter placing down the control ward. He's found his prey. Tay a little bit off, no Predator boots available just yet. Is the Galio getting caught out here? The Galio just so squishy with Predator taken down so quickly, and that's an early kill going on to the Silas, something you don't want to see if you're Divine Ascension.
It's horrible for Divine Ascension as Tay does not need to be even attempting to be in that fight. Derpy Byzantine isn't there, and Bubble Bath Boy is able to just walk away. That is such an unnecessary error to make, as they did get the 1-for-1 in an Otter. Credit where credit is due. Thracian was able to be in the right place at the right time, and now there's more action in the river as Bubble Bath Boy no splash.
Scuttle Crab was secured by the Graves as a flash taunt from Kraydog is going to try to start off a fight. Trap landed onto Lindy Hop. A solid combo there from Volatile. He's been practicing his Caitlyn, as it's looking a little clean there, but unable to pick up a kill, just too healthy, not enough damage at this point in the game. Did start Cole, so I'm assuming Volatile did go for the cut down rune, and he actually did, so he's dealing some more bonus damage to those who have more health than him, and that includes Silly Goose and Lindy Hop in the bot lane.
Exactly why you take Cole, to do some of that extra damage and to also gain some of that health back, get some extra gold. And again, we talked about Caitlyn on the analyst desk and how if you can get plates and you can get ahead, even if you don't get kills, that's a lot of value added. Right. But, you know, the Cole does the same thing. It's not necessarily as good as getting a bunch of plates, but it is an extra kills worth of gold, especially if you go even in lane. Like, the lane states are very, very even. Neither has knocked down a plate yet. The CS is basically even as it can be, so that's going to be an extra 300 gold in the pocket when that Cole is completed, and that's going to be really, really nice for the side of Drift.
Yeah, this is going to be a dragon going over to the River Shen, as it's quite a bit different of an early game that we saw last game. Silly Goose and Lindy Hop don't have the bot lane priority that they previously did. This time it's Kraydog on the Pantheon with the Ignite, with the press, the attack available. And I'll think Divine Ascension really just waiting for that Galio to start getting on the map.
Ascension doesn't feel like they have really the priority to play in any of these lanes until they hit 6. Silly Goose and Lindy Hop can't do much. And in the top lane, it's kind of just a stalemate, right? Because Derpy, yeah, he got a kill, but he wasn't able to get the Bramble Vest just yet. So not really going to be in the best spot for that. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, like it said, that River Shen in a really solid spot, has that extra kill on him. Vision control is there for the side of Drift as well. So while we'd like to see some, dives in the top lane right now, that would be a beautiful time to be diving. Instead, we're going to see that Divine Ascension can't really make it out of their lanes.
Yeah, and at this point in the game, Rava already down a little bit of CS, but for the most part, the lanes are looking pretty even. I'll be looking for Bubble Bath Boy to really start extending and looking for a lead on this Graves. Really, I think, in my experience, a better power farmer than the Shen, especially when no Tiamat is picked up. Valley, what do you think?
Shen, pretty solid farmer, but like you said, Bubble Bath Boy in the Graves is going to be a better power farmer. He is, however, going to get pushed a little bit off his blue buff as there might be a fight in this top river. It really depends. We're not getting to watch it, though. Directed camera doesn't want to take us up there. So instead, we're just going to watch Silly Goose and Lindy Hop poke out Volatile and Kraydog. And you know what? This is just as interesting. Kraydog goes in with the engage.
Does land the shield, fall at the traps, zoning Lindy Hop off, but he's able to walk around there close to the wall and pull that play off there, avoids the trap. Solid effort there from Volatile, just a little bit off game. Lindy Hop, a little too much room there to get out, as Derpy Byzantine is going to get quite a bad trade in his favor, and Otter trying to get some top lane pressure, but feeling a lot better than he was last game on the Gangplank.
Still don't know who got the blue buff, though. That's my issue. All right, Mac? I don't know who got the blue buff, and I'm upset about it. Who do I call? No, I'm kidding. But, we're at a pretty even game state. The gold is only about 100 in favor of the side of Drift. Bubble Back Boy is going to get spotted out on a ward, so we're not going to see a gank just yet. And what Thracian is doing much better this game than he did last game, and is he's tracking Bubble Bath Boy effectively so that he can be there for counter ganks. You're not getting an Otter set massively behind early on, and that means that the mid lane that we saw go basically stalemate last game in the early game, and the bot lane, which was pretty much a stalemate, are able to do that again, and that is a favorable look for the side of Drift.
Yeah, and at the moment, we do see Thracian making his way up to the top lane, does have Stand United available, going to use it onto Rava, looking to potentially dash back in. The Shadow Dash does miss the taunt from the Shield of Duran, though, does land. Tay finding a lot of CC, Thracian just getting so low, Rava just going to try to run away. The Ignite, not enough! Thracian able to walk away, and no kills going over to Drift Esports.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't take Ignite on Grapes in the jungle. It's not that good. I've seen people take it before, and I understand the concept behind it, but it doesn't really help you secure that many kills unless you're able to get like a ton of damage off. And in that case, yes, Thracian walks out with 1 HP, but Flash is just more consistent and more useful. Heck, if you want to go something that's not Flash, you could go Teleport. I think that would be very useful on a jungler, but I don't think Ignite is ever the play here.
And at the moment, we do see Divine Ascension grouping around this Rift Herald. That's going to be the top pressure there for them. That's going to be the mid pressure off of that previous gank, making a play happen around the Rift Herald, getting a big objective for themselves, and they have an opportunity to potentially open up one of these lanes.
I would expect to see this probably dropped in top or mid. Not a lot of reason to drop it in the bottom lane, as again, it's an Ashe lane. We're going to see them just spamming W's and staying alive against this Caitlyn, trying to deny play gold. Something interesting to note here is we're going to see a little bit different build from Silly Goose on the Ashe as compared to Volatile last game. Volatile went for the Blade of the Rune King for more survivability, but because you don't feel like there's as much engaged potential as Robin does miss the chains, you feel a little bit safer to go Essence Reaver, and I think Essence Reaver is a really strong build on Ashe right now.
Rift Arrow going to be dropped here. Shadow Dash in, plus Grey Dog trying to find a kill here. There's the Fear Beyond Death, finding the Fear, but the Cosmic Radiance coming in. Lindy Hop going to be safe for just a little bit as Derpy Byzantine coming in, looking for potential engage. Here comes the Agenda Crystal Arrow from downtown Valley with the Unstoppable Force. That is going to be a quick kill onto an Otter, but the Shadow Dash once again going through, hitting 3 members, but that's another kill going over to Dwayne the Rock. Volatile coming in, trying to fix things here for the side of Drift Esports, but that's going to be a 2-for-1 going over to Divine Ascension.
Well played by Divine Ascension to come back in on the other side. Lindy Hop's Cosmic Radiance only finds themselves, but it's still enough for them to find the engage. Still Use hits the beautiful Enchanted Crystal Arrow. They're able to get 2 back after Bubble Bath Boy falls in that engage, and it looked really good for Drift for a while as Redbo's going to get stolen away. Bubble Bath Boy's just got to get it hit on all cylinders here. He's not having a good time game 2. It is a Drake up, and vision control is in the favor of Drift. This is where they get to make a statement, right? Because we're probably going to see this contested based on the pings we're seeing come down as there's the TPN. Now we get to see Drift get a say.
Grey Dog wants to try to start off this fight, but here comes Tay, a huge taunt landing onto an Otter. Grey Dog already taken down so quickly, collateral damage there, missing just a little bit. Rava not ready to get taken down just yet. Doesn't have flash or ultimate available. Volatile trying to deal some damage over the wall. Explosive playing over Thrasian, wanting to try to get a chance to steal that Drake, but just comes up a little short. That's another objective going over to Divine Ascension.
I was super excited for what Drift has been able to do in this game. They've stayed a lot closer as far as their lane states and as far as the game goes, but something they're still weak on. Even though they have vision control there, they're still weak on how they want to play these team fights. And it goes beyond just what we've seen from both the Pantheons in this series. It goes into how you play front to back. Every time we've seen Drift in a team fight that's not them bush cheesing is going to be them just falling apart. So we're going to see this in the replay, right? They have vision control. They have the setup to start this Drake. They need to be pulling it down river. The TP comes in. They're not set up for it. Grey Dog is not the front line here. And Otter needs to be stepping up and be the front line because Grey Dog can only block so much damage. Instead, the Pantheon dies, whereas he should have been playing in the backside and then looking to re-engage with his ultimate. And now there's nothing they can do to get into this game, into this Dragon Pit and into this fight. They go back over with the Blast Plant. They don't get punished for it, but they lose one unnecessarily, and it's not well done from them. It doesn't feel like they have an idea of what their characters are supposed to do in a straight up 5v5 team fight where everybody can see each other.
As we do see Bubble Bath Boy trying to contest vision around the top side of this map. No Rift Hero available, none taken. It was used in the mid lane, I believe, there to pick up some turret plating gold by Bubble Bath Boy, as the game's going to slow down a little bit, and both of these teams sitting so close to each other in terms of gold, in terms of kills. It's a 1-kill advantage over to Divine Ascension. Tay on this Galio. There really hasn't been a big ultimate so far in this game. Hasn't been able to get onto the map and roam. Turret plating has fallen. That's going to be less of a gold opportunity for both of these teams, as the Unstoppable Force is going to be used there by Derpy Byzantine in the top lane to back off and get away from the gank.
You know, a glimmer of hope, shining light, if you will, for the side of Drift is that the gold that they do have is on some of their strong members, right? If you look at the gold across from, you know, the 80 carries, you're looking at an Ashe with probably around 5,200 gold total, whereas you have a Caitlyn that's sitting at about 5,400, 5,700, somewhere in that range. So an advantageous gold difference there. There's also an advantageous gold difference in the middle lane to a degree. Well, there was until, you know, some tower plates got taken. But most of the gold advantage is in that bottom lane, whereas for the side of Divine Ascension, a lot of their gold is in the top lane on the Malphite. And while Malphite can be valuable, he's building tank again. So it's like the same thing that we saw with Ornn, that it's just not going to be as valuable. Enchanted Crystal Arrow, though.
Flashing away, Volatile barely able to get away with that one as teleport coming in. Beautiful time there on the dazzle. Lindy Hop trying to keep Silly Goose alive here. Cosmic Radiance onto 4 members, staying healthy right now. Stand United going to be a game changer here as the hero's entrance coming in though. Tay trying to play his role here as Rava with the GLP, trying to slow down so many members. Headshot onto Lindy Hop. Silly Goose getting so low, gonna pop the barrier. You're gonna barely survive there as it is somehow Valley. Only a 1-for-1 trade in the bot lane. There's so many health bars so low on both sides.
Ascension has to walk it out, and that's going to be the first tower of the game falling for Drift, and now they're going to be probably getting a little bit of a gold lead here. They're going to go up 400 gold from that, and that is a massive team fight for them. Yes, you say it's only a 1-for-1, but you see how these team fights can play out. The Cosmic Radiance is used early because you don't want to die to an Urgot ultimate that's just going to delete someone off the map. But then you have, you know, the Pantheon re-engaged. The Silas able to steal an ultimate and does so much damage. Not to mention the Stand United to keep everyone alive. And that's on top of, on the other side, the hero's entrance coming in. The Malphite ultimate coming in. He doesn't have unstoppable force in that fight. So maybe it's a little bit different if that does come through. But there's so many layers to how these team fights play out that these fights can go any way. It's on a nice edge with how these fights play out and how these abilities are used in what order.
Exactly, and that's going to be the second Rift Herald going over to Divine Ascension. They're going to look to extend a gold lead potentially, or at least find one in this match, as still both sides dead, even 1 tower apiece. And as Derpy Byzantine's teleport is slowly but surely coming off cooldown, they're going to be looking to take advantage of that potential flank as another boost strategy. This is what Drift Esports have been getting so many plays off from. We do see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow fly in as Kraydog is just absorbing so much damage. A huge unstoppable force from Ram, but another huger one from Derpy as he finds 3 members as well. That's going to be the turn that Divine Ascension needed. Divine Intervention coming in. Everyone making big plays, coming up big. They're looking for the clean ace. That's going to be 1 kill. Tay does fall, but Volatile, the only member left standing, that is a 4-for-1 in favor of the Scarlet squad. Divine Ascension coming up big. They're going to look for their second dragon of the game.
I thought everything was going right when Rava picked up the unstoppable force, but then Derpy, Byzantine, and Lindy Hop changed it up. They turned the entire fight on its head. Beautiful flash stun from Lindy Hop after the unstoppable force knocked up 3, and everything goes the way of Divine Ascension. They pick up the second Drake of the game. They pick up 4 kills. It's not a clean ace, but that is so much value added. Now a 3-1-4 Graves. It's a 1-0-7 Ashe, and it is a 1-2-5 Galio. They are gaining a ton of value, and we're going to see in this replay just how this fight plays out. They're trying the bush cheese again. We talked about they don't know how to take a straight up fight Drift, so they try the bush cheese, but they go onto the Malphite. They're not going to be able to find anything. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is used early. They lock him up, and you think, okay, well, it's just kind of back and forth. No one's dying. Huge unstoppable force, but there's no damage to follow it up. The only person that falls low is the Galio, and the unstoppable force on the other side has a ton of damage coming back into it with the Ashe, with the Graves. Then the flash engage from Lindy is beautiful to lock people up. They try to get in. Taunt is back up. There's no way to get onto this AD carry with the amount of defensive CC she has, and it's just a clean fight. You have to delete people, or there is no chance you win against this Divine Ascension squad.
And now they are starting to build themselves up a little bit of a lead in this game. After the big fight, they didn't find an opportunity, though, to use that Rift Herald somewhere on the map. It's still very even in terms of turrets, and I really feel like until a team starts knocking down all of those outer turrets, really starts moving in on the inner turrets, there's just so much standing gold on the map available to both teams that the lead could just suddenly shift on a moment's notice after a big fight. We'll have to see if Divine Ascension is able to utilize that Rift Herald. They have the outer turrets in the bot lane and the mid lane still standing.
Definitely a lot of standing gold on the map and a lot of potential to swing this back in your favor. Drift is in a much more favorable state in this game than they were in the last game at 20 minutes. And the last game, they made go to 40 minutes. So this game is anybody's ball game, right? You could, either team could really take the cake. It depends, again, how these team fights get played. We're not at Soul Drake yet. We're not at... Yes, Baron is up, Enchanted Crystal Arrow is in, but I don't know if they have the follow-up.
The Dazzle isn't there. Cosmic Radiance coming out very, very early. Here comes the Silas picking up an Enchanted Crystal Arrow as well, and Vulnerability is over, but here comes the hero that they needed. A huge taunt coming in and hitting 2 members. Thracian is already down. Same with Grey Dog as Bubble Boy in the news coming in here, making a big play. Tay with a huge double taunt.
Hugely done there by Tay. He comes in with the Predator from the side lane, drops in on the hero's entrance, and it's a 2-for-1 in the end. Rift Herald was picked up. This is the second Rift Herald of the game, so there goes that mid-tier 1. And again, Drift is trying to be proactive. They're trying to catch people out, but it's never enough. They don't have the teamfight capability to deal with the amount of CC and re-engage that Divine Ascension has brought in this draft. And I don't think they're going to do the Baron. I think they're just going to try and get some vision around the Baron, but it is getting to a risky point for Drift. They have to come up with a new stratagem of how they want to play these fights out and how they want to play this game out. Otherwise, they are never going to pull ahead.
And at this moment, now suddenly here come the turrets getting knocked down in favor of Divine Ascension. They find themselves with an almost 3k gold lead and already some level advantages starting to come out in the top lane and in the jungle, just like last game. And you've got yourself some real heavy playmakers once again for Derpy, for Bubble Bath Boy. And it feels like Tay in these past 2 fights has had some excellent ultimates. They've been very reactive and just so punishing onto Drift Esports, who have been trying to make plays, but just haven't been finding the damage they need to quickly burst down a target and then be able to get out.
Drift Esports, if they want to take a fight here, yes, you want to be stealing ultimates if you're Rava, but I said on the analyst desk, you want to be grabbing the Cosmic Radiance, because if you can find an engage early on, right, whether that's with Pantheon, etc., and then you can bait out the engage from Divine Ascension, you can Cosmic Radiance it, you can get the hero's entrance, and you can survive and kite it back. Then you have so much potential to go back with a Pantheon ultimate, to find a low member with a, with whatever the crab man's name is, Urgot ultimate. But right now, there's the Unstoppable Force flashed away.
Is flashed here as a teleport coming in. Tay from the top lane coming in here. Enchanted Crystal Arrow onto Volatile on top with the Cosmic Radiance. There's a well-timed one. All 5 members. Absolutely dazzling performance right there. Pick up 2 quick kills around this dragon.
No QSS, no Mikhail's Crucible. How do you get away from all this CC if you've overstepped? Volatile finds out that you can't, and now an Otter just doing his best to try and make some pressure on this Drake, but it will 100% be going over to Divine Ascension. And like I said, they need to kite out, but how do they do it? Right? You flash the Unstoppable Force, and then there's an Enchanted Crystal Arrow. You dodge the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, there's a taunt. There's a flashing Lindy Hop with a Dazzle. What do you do? How do you get away? They don't have any answers right now, Drift, and this Baron has been started up, and there should be no real contest here.
And Otter does have Flash available. The rest of the team is joining. Grand Starfall potentially available onto all 4 members here. Tay trying to be in a reactive position. Unstoppable Force taken by Rava. Does not have Flash available. Stand United coming in, and Otter may look for this engage. Unstoppable Force. Rava at the ready, maybe onto the back line. There's 2 members absolutely caught out here. Lindy Hop and Silly Goose are going to be quickly taken down, and that's 2 incredibly important picks here, as we do see all 5 members of Drift Esports are ready for the Baron. They're focusing down Nasher, but an Otter left to the Wolves here, potentially getting a little low here, getting below half health here. Tay with ultimate available, same with Derpy, same with Boy. They're potentially looking for an engage. There they go. Unstoppable Force indeed. He's on a rampage as 3 quick kills suddenly get exploded here as the Predator boots. That's going to be the engage they're looking for. A triple kill over to Trey's Galio as Rava just going to try to run them into the traps, but there is no escape right now. The Shield of Duran going to come up a little bit short as the dash for the collateral damage for the Sunday on top of this fight. Rava somehow going to find a kill or shutdown onto the Graves. The Shield of Duran once again missed time. The Kingslayer once again used. There's finally The Silas getting taken down. Build your grievous wound, kids.
First Baron call coming out from Divine Ascension. I thought that they had the death timers long enough that they could do it. I was wrong. You're going to see that it's going to just fall apart for them around this Baron as they leash it up. They try to Enchanted Crystal Arrow in, but they have no Cosmic Radiance. So this is a beautiful pickup from the Silas to get the Unstoppable Force. They find an engage onto 2, instant deletion onto the Ashe, and then Lindy Hop will fall soon after. And now we're back on the Baron, right? We think, okay, we've got 5 members up, they've got 3, but now we don't have any options to engage onto them, and they have a wombo combo. So you have to spread out. You just leave the Baron. They can't take the Baron, you can't take the Baron. Instead, Drift stays around to get knocked down by Derpy Byzantine. A beautiful hero's entrance again from Tay to find a double kill. He ends up finding a triple as the taunt lands onto the Caitlyn, and somehow, Rav is able to walk all the way up to top lane, pick up a collateral damage, put some damage in, Kingslayer in, kill the jungler, and then get finished off himself. How does he live this long? I don't understand. It's just a lot of greed.
And now moving forward here for the rest of the game, it is quite a substantial gold lead at the moment here for Divine Ascension. 4,000 gold separating these two teams at the moment, as also the Scarlet squad is sitting at Soul Point at the moment. Cloud Soul not incredibly game-changing, as I feel like Ocean Soul and Mountain Soul are, especially for this type of composition. The Malphite would have been pretty much unkillable, but the ultimate cooldown reduction is just so valuable for all of these members on Divine Ascension.
Yeah, these items are going to be very massive. You've got 10 stacks of Magi's on the Malphite, so as we're coming up on this Dragon Soul in a minute, this fight will be huge to determine the course of this game. Of course, you know, it's a Cloud Soul, so we'll see what exactly that means for them, but it is going to be at least a soul. You want to get the Dragon Soul off the table. You don't want to give it to anyone else, and 3 Cloud Drakes, you know, 30% extra cooldown on those ultimates is huge for Cosmic Radiance, as well as all these other engage ultimates. So this is one that the side of Divine Ascension are going to want, and they're not going to be giving over.
They do potentially have the set up here, but not a lot of vision control. Volatile on the Caitlyn has the traps at the ready, but the Blast Cone is there for the squad of Divine Ascension to engage here. Unstoppable Force is flashed away. Derpy Byzantine missing the ultimate. Tay coming up a little short here. This could be the fight drift. Esports want to take a huge 2-man shadow dash on top of a massive Unstoppable Force from Rav. A Cosmic Radiance going to be coming in a little bit too late here. Can they turn around this fight? Silly Goose is quite healthy here, and there's a lot of low health bars. Taunt on a Grey Dog on Otter, finding the engage. Fear Beyond Death going to fear 2 members. Now it's a 1v2 situation. Silly Goose flashing. Now it's just the ADCs, but he walks onto a trap. Both members are so low here. The built over Peacemaker misses, but the ace in the hole finds the ace around the Cloud Drake as Volatile pops off with a huge triple kill, and he's going to pick up the Cloud Drake as well.
Somehow, some way, Drift are able to come out on top of that fight. It is so difficult for them to find this value, but Volatile is massive in this fight, and we're going to see how this plays out here initially. I like the setup. Enchanted Crystal Arrow was used early, so is Unstoppable Force. All those cooldowns miss, so that's 3 big ults used by Divine Ascension that they don't have. They still have a chance in the fight, though, as they have Cosmic Radiance. They are going to survive for quite a long time, except for Bubble Bath Boy, and again, it's Rava tanking up so much and taking so much time. They do find one back, and then it's just trading back and forth. They aren't able to kill Urgot before he's able to shut down the Galio, and then it's the 80 carries, but there's a trap, and there's a dead Ashe. It is going to be a delayed Cloud Soul, and that is going to be Drift, again, hanging on by a thread in this game.
And now we're still somehow left 30 minutes into this game with pretty much a close match once again. No Barons have been picked up. Both teams have tried dancing around the objective, as Tay and Silly Goose are going to start us off here. There's quite a bit of vision control. There is a control ward. You see Lindy Hop is going to try to clear it out now. So Drift Esports do know what is going on. They are going to be looking to contest. Grand Starfall is available. Rava's going to be coming in. Here comes the engage from the Pantheon. They're going to decide to turn onto an Otter as Thrasian is in the middle of this Baron pit. It's going to be a fight. Smite in. It goes over to Triple B's here. He finds a kill onto Kraydog, as well as the Cosmic Radiance is going to come up big, protecting the ADC. The jungler, Bubble Bath Boy, going to get taken down. He does secure the objective, as it's a 2-for-2 trade in the brawl around the pit. Both teams coming out even in terms of kills, but Baron Nashor going over to Divine Ascension.
That is a fight that Divine Ascension will take any day of the week, as they come out with the Baron, and they are honestly going to be so happy with that, especially not giving it over to Volatile. It is a siege composition. With the Caitlyn, they have a lot more potential if they get Baron, but it is secured. It's on 3 members, and it is on 3 strong members that are in a group, so they will be able to siege as a group. We are going to see this replay come through, as the Baron burns down pretty quickly here, but the Grand Starfall is really well done. It is taunted up, and the Unstoppable Force only finds 1, but the Stolen Heroes entrance finds so much value as far as shielding onto the side of Drift that they're able to stay alive for a long time. Kraydog does end up falling in the end, but he's bought enough time for them to get the 2-for-2. The Cosmic Radiance allows the bot lane to escape, but it's still pretty good for Drift. Even though they lose the Baron, they are able to take these fights, and they are not losing these fights by a massive amount.
Yeah, and there's just been such a carry effort from the bottom side of this map for Drift Esports. Volatile on the Caitlyn and Rava on this Silas pick have been popping off in the big fights. Now, once again, Divine Ascension, they have Baron Nashor. They're looking to extend their gold lead with the power play, but the Baron power play hasn't really been something they've excelled at through the first 2 games. The Scuttle Crab secured here by Bubble Bath Boy, but you've got Baron. It's time to push these waves.
This is the constant issue that we see with Divine Ascension. We saw it last game. We saw it this game. It took them 3 Barons to get to inhibs, and even then, they didn't really secure inhibs. They just ended the game. They don't feel like they know how to use a Baron to its maximum value, especially they had 2 minutes before the Cloud Drake came out. They could have at least knocked down a side lane tower, the tier 1 and bot lane. Instead, they feel like they don't understand what they're doing, and they're just, getting stronger minions and sending them the way of Drift.
Right. Exactly. And at this point, no Morellos for Rava at the moment. The Silas hitting 3 items already. No Rabadons completed either. Quite the assortment. Yeah, quite the assortment at the moment. We do see a big level difference for the top side of the map in favor of Divine Ascension. And once again, Valley, we're going to be getting a fight around the dragon.
Will be a fight around the dragon, and interestingly, it is a Mercurial Scimitar for the Caitlyn.
Ooh, watch not the teleport here.
Ideal play. We could have a teleport. There's 2 on the flank here for Drift, so this is a pincer maneuver. They have
the hawk shot lands the Enchanted Crystal arrow on top, and Otter just has nowhere to go. He is so caught out. The collateral damage plus the auto attack from Silly Goose going to finish him off. Kraydog getting a little potential greedy there to try to clear that control ward. Does get it, but barely escapes. Now we see the Cloud Drake is started up here. Silly Goose and Bubble Bath Boy do want this objective. This might go in the way of Divine the last time, and it once again goes their way. Thracian tries to go into the pit. It's looking like he wants to go out now as a huge fight around the Cloud Drake. Divine Ascension, they have found themselves 2 kills, and they're going to be pushing on the base. They don't have Baron, but this might be enough for them to find a good push.
That you're going to get off of ultimates now with the extra speed boost when those ultimates are used is going to be massive for Divine Ascension. They knock down this first inhibitor, and it looks like they're trying to end. They can't knock down any of the other inhibs. They are looking to finish this game right now.
They have all their ultimates once again available. Here comes an Otter looking for the engage. Ravo with the unstoppable force, but the Cosmic Radiance is going to be coming down. All 5 members star-studded right now in this map as Silly Goose is drilling into everyone. The Ranger's focus is very much online. That's 3. He's looking for 4. The volley does find its mark, and that's going to be a huge quadra kill. Silly Goose, can he find the Pentathracian? Is the last stand. He's going up against all 5, and Silly Goose, the pentakill to secure this series. He's got himself a clean 2-0 to start off the mid-league.
League Game 1, Week 1, Season 1. It was an exciting match, and it was back and forth. But at the end of the day, Divine Ascension ascend like the gods they are. The Cosmic Radiance has blessed them as the Galio fell from the sky, and the pentakill to finish it off for Silly Goose. Beautiful. Just so well done by them. They know what limits to push, and while it may not have been the cleanest, they come out with the 2-0 victory. They have a lot that they can learn from these games, but they also have a lot to be proud of, and honestly, I couldn't have been more happy with the games that we got, Mac.
Yeah, I don't have any much to add to that point. Both of these teams pretty much gave us everything we wanted out of a League of Legends series, and they managed to do so in only 2 games. Divine Ascension and Drift Esports finishing off here. Divine Ascension managing to get the clean sweep here. They had a lot of success in the early game. They seemed to struggle a little bit in the late game, especially when they got Baron online for themselves. Really no huge power plays. It was funny enough, after Baron ended, they got the Cloud Soul and finally got that push they were looking for. Now I'm really just going to be looking for them to extend their prowess in the early game, which is usually the hard part of League of Legends, into that late game shot calling.
We'll have to see how they develop. On the other side of things, if you look at Drift, they had a lot of good things. They're a scrappy team. They have a lot of places that they can make themselves cleaner in that early game, pushing advantages, especially team fighting. But it will be, they will fall in week 1. But it's a long season, There's a lot of time and a lot of potential for them to shore up those weaknesses, fill those holes, and come back and be a really strong team in this league. So we'll have to wait and see, but that is going to be the end of the game and the end of the series, and props where props are due. Divine Ascension comes out on top.
Yeah, we are going to head over to the doctor's analyst desk for his diagnosis. We are going to see if any of the teams do have a game 3 to be had. If so, that game will be on stream. If all of the series is ended in a 2-0, that'll be it for me tonight. So hopefully see you guys in just a little bit. But until then, let's head over to the doc.
Welcome back to the desk, everybody. It's the doctor and Ashley breaking it all down for you tonight. And yeah, what a kind of better game, I'm going to say right off the bat. I think that Divine Ascension came in again, once again, really solid plan. Everything's slotting together. And Drift came in with a little bit more cohesive of a plan, and they played it much, much better than they saw in game 1.
Yeah, they at least performed better in this early to mid game, right? There's still a lot of the glaring weaknesses that we talked about from game 1, draft, team comp cohesion, and some of their team fighting. But at the end of the day, they didn't look horrible, right? There's 2-0s where you're like, wow, that was a stomp. That team just got demolished. This was not the case for this game, right? The scoreline is 2-0, but if you look at the games, it was a lot closer than anyone just looking at the score would probably think.
Yeah, and I think something that I touched on in Champion Select that I think really, really directed how this last game was going to go was the support picks. We saw Kraydog pick up the Pantheon to steal it away from Lindy Hop, who then picked up the Taric. And I was like, Taric's kind of funky to work with. But every single time Kraydog went for a stun, the Dazzle was up, the Dazzle was ready, and just reopened so many opportunities for Divine Ascension to just win team fights throughout the entire game that it was just such a smart counter pick, and it felt so practiced.
felt like Lindy Hop knew exactly what they were doing on the character, made some great flash dazzles as well in team fights. The one that stands out to me is that like first big Drake team fight where the Unstoppable Force was stolen and then Derpy made a huge counter engage, but it wasn't enough to get all the kills. So Lindy Hop flash dazzles like 3 people. It was absolutely a clinic on the Taric, and it was a clinic across the board, right? Silly Goose looked great on both AD carries that they played. Derpy and Tay looked great on the Echo, the Galio, the Ornn, and the Malphite, respectively, and their wombo combos were very well coordinated. I think, honestly, this is a team that could be scary for others in the future. Of course, they can be countered. I think a lot of what their game plan and their strategy of these engaged wombo combo comps can be outdrafted and can be played around. But if this is where they're starting at, and if they only get better from here, Divine Ascension Scarlet is a team to be worried about.
Yeah, and I think that Drift could be scary as well. I really would like to see some expansion for the jungle position. I know we only saw 2 games tonight, but it was 2 back-to-back games of a jungle Shen that just didn't seem to have the impact that they wanted. I mean, they had 13 kill participation, which is pretty good when you look at the rest of the squad. But overall, I think between the Sejuani and the Graves, you just saw more. And so I think that if Drift can get a more meta jungler and combo it with the rest of what they have going on and allow that jungler to impact those solo lanes a bit more, I think Rava and Otter both had pretty strong showings, especially in the second game here, that if you can enable them with a strong jungle pick, I think that team looks so much more cohesive and so much better.
I agree with you more. Again, for me, it comes down to the team comp, right? It's when you get this roster a solid team comp and you go over a little bit of how to play these team fights out just a tad bit better, they're taking games off anyone in this league. That's my personal belief. I think is once they're all on the same page with a team comp that synergizes well, they are a force to be reckoned with. So I'm excited to see how the mid league continues to play out. This was, again, week 1, game 1 of season 1. So, I mean, we're looking at a long season and a lot of exciting matches. So to start off with a banger like this one was fantastic.
Yeah, I am super excited to see how these teams develop and evolve. And as we come into week 2, we are going to be able to see how the